Ooh, Brian, don't eat those frog eggs.
Why are they like frog babies?
No, the eggs just give you really bad fucking gas.
Well, I've had like 7.5 of them.
Ooh, that is gonna ruin the integrity of your hull.
Ah, butthole joke.
Nice.
Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek, and this is our review of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, titled The Passenger. Joining me tonight, as always, is the mad scientist Brian Banner and the American hero Nate Thurman to review this episode as we do all of our TV episodes on the 4 Bro 4 Squad criteria: the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and then any theories or questions that we have going forward. Nate, we'll toss it to you first. This episode, really not a lot of actors outside of Pedro Pascal and I guess Baby Yoda, who I've heard is just a total diva on set. But what do you think of the performances we got in Season 2, Episode 2 of The Mandalorian?
I plead the fifth on this one. I'm kidding. But it just means I'm not going to answer the question. I will answer the question. But that goes without saying. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, like Horns was saying, wasn't a new character introduced. Wasn't much there. Honestly, the comedy of Baby Yoda really drove this for me, with him eating the eggs the whole time, being secretive, and just like being a fucking little toddler and like getting in trouble the whole time. Yeah, Mando the whole time. He's done his thing, and then we've got Frog Lady, who's not really bringing much to the table other than some incoherent language that I don't know.
Wow, I can't believe you hate frogs that much.
Frog Lady to me just like, I didn't mind Frog Lady, but I'm just like, this feels so sort of out of place for Star Wars. Even I know it's
yeah, it seemed a little cheap. I don't know.
A few things real quick, Brandon, before I toss it over to you. Amy Sedaris returned again as Pelomado, briefly on Tatooine. And if you listen to the last episode, you'll know that I am not a fan of her portrayal of this character. And this one, she actually had a little more of an important role with the plot, and it just kind of feels lazy. Like with her, like, oh yeah, I don't even know this person, I just vouch for them. Like, if it's supposed to be humorous, none of it is hitting with me, and it feels kind of out of place for sort of the aesthetic that they've set up with The Mandalorian, like this gritty Western outlaw type show.
Yeah, they're trying to be like corny and hokey with her, and they're like missing by just a little, but it's not paying off at all.
Yeah, she feels like she's in a different show. But I will say this, it's a testament to just how strong the vibe of the Star Wars universe is, that the two main characters in this are someone we don't see their face the entire time, and an inanimate Baby Yoda that doesn't talk. And still, despite really like no other outstanding acting performances, I mean, the acting was not an issue for me this episode. Banner, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, nobody was bad. There just wasn't enough to really judge. I mean, I guess you could kind of get a shout out to the animators that drew the spiders. Because I thought the CGI in this episode was really, really well done. But that isn't really acting. We know what Pedro Pascal is up to, and I mean, again, he was great. And the guy that actually is Mando, the suit and everything, I thought his body acting, I don't know what the fuck you call that, was good.
Yeah, we've obviously touched on that a lot, but there were a few things. Some subtle things, especially in like the opening scene, whenever the little guy gets blown up on his jetpack, and Baby Yoda and him just look at each other and like shrugs, funny. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. But yeah, go ahead.
Another thing I just want to throw in there, Dave Filoni, who obviously was instrumental in creating the Clone Wars TV show and directed at least one episode last season. He was one of the X-Wing pilots.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
and I believe he made an appearance in season 1 briefly as an X-Wing pilot. So, that's his role now, man. He's firmly cemented in the Star Wars universe. Anything else before we move on to story? Again, not a lot to really sink our teeth into.
No, I knew we could probably brush over that one pretty quick on the acting.
All right, so the story for season 2, episode 2 is the Mandalorian must ferry a passenger with precious cargo on a risky journey. And the plot here, again, we pick up back on Tatooine after the Marshal. Mando has uncovered what appears to be Boba Fett's armor from Cobb Vanth after helping defeat the Krayt Dragon, and now he is searching for other Mandalorians to help him find the Jedi, where to take Baby Yoda. And he gets a tip from Pelo Mato that on this other planet, if he takes this frog woman there, she will help him, or maybe her husband will help him find Mandalorians. So, Banner, again, sort of more of a transition episode because everything we just talked about didn't actually come to fruition. They just sort of set it in motion, and then it felt almost like a... Again, we talked off pod about this. This might be an episode at the end of the season where we're like, yeah, if we had to cut one, we probably could have cut here.
Yeah, I will go out and say this is the first time watching The Mandalorian between the first season and these first few episodes that I was actually a little disappointed. This has the potential to be some sort of setup episode, which I'll get into in a theory later on. But it just didn't bring any value to what we know right now. We know the Darksaber's still out there, and no mention of that. We didn't find another Mandalorian or really even get a clue on one. We just got a, hey, take this weird gecko frog lady to some weird planet, and you'll find that out. Didn't make it there. We got stuck on an ice planet, which I've never been a fan of ice planets. So just this episode didn't do a whole lot for me as far as story goes. I will say, and I kind of mentioned it a minute ago, the CGI felt incredible in this episode. Mm-hmm. The chase scene, which was a great chase scene, by the way, through space, and then they go through the clouds, and then they're on the the ground level going through the ice, and how he stops, and then all of a sudden they fall, and that's how the ship gets damaged. Great scene. All of that CGI felt more realistic than probably any other space scene or chase scene that we've had in the series thus far. Felt like this episode, they put their money into that as opposed to the story. So again, I was just kind of disappointed. And like you said, yeah, we don't need this. At this point in time, I don't feel like we're going to need this episode in the greater plot.
With an 8-episode arc, I don't really think... Again, I enjoy any time we get in this world. But we crash land on the planet. He leaves the planet. Really nothing of consequence felt like it happened there. So I'm wondering... where this will go, why did we need that detour? Nate, do you have any idea as to why this show decided to, aside from the aesthetics of making a cool-looking ice planet with alien spiders?
No, and like Banner was saying, there's a few things in theory that we'll get to and that may pay off later. Who knows? But yeah, it didn't really progress the plot at all. And... it was cool seeing the X-Wing fighters and all that. It's always cool whenever you see things that aren't really in the Mandalorian, but kind of in the Star Wars world. And you got that. So I don't know if there's going to be some payoff eventually with them kind of letting him off the hook at the end saying, hey, you did all this shit, but we also know you did this, which is admirable and valiant. So we're going to leave you here. We're not going to help you with your ship or anything, but we're not arresting you. But... yeah, it just kind of seemed irrelevant. But yeah, hopefully it does pay off. I don't know. And like Banner was saying with the Darksaber and all of that, we haven't seen Moff Gideon. Obviously, Boba Fett was seen at the end of last episode, but you tease that, and then I'm just going to want more and more of that. So there's a lot of things that were teased that they're just kind of holding on to. I know they'll get there in the other episodes, but I want it now.
I know.
One thing I'll say is they need to be very careful here because they are getting close to having too drawn out of a series or too drawn out of a show. There were a couple episodes last season that were a ton of fun, but they didn't matter. We didn't need them necessarily. And now we're already getting another one of those episodes. If they're not careful, they're going to get into this situation where people aren't going to be as interested because they aren't continually progressing the story.
So with that being said, I'll throw it back to season 1, episode 2, I believe, whenever he meets Cara Dune. Is that correct?
I think it's actually 4.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first 3 episodes, he's like jumping from planet to planet.
Yeah,
and it sort of
that makes sense.
settles in.
So whenever he meets her and they fight off the big almost at type thing with the village, was there any payoff from that was significant down the road? Because that was one of those episodes that I feel was the same.
We met Cara Dune.
And I think it was a little bit of backstory, like that woman on the planet who wanted to see his face kind of reminded him of like his upbringing a little bit. But
That's true. But yeah, so there was even a little more in that episode than there was in this one. So hopefully we will find some stuff out. But even in that one that we just talked about in season 1, yeah, there were some flashbacks and things that we saw currently in the episode that helped us kind of understand what was going on.
And again, I'm not sitting here saying every episode we need some massive plot reveal or like the story has to come full circle and tie up an open-ended storyline. I would just like to know that like these are not like the Scooby-Doo monster of the week, right? That like every time we see the Mandalorian, because we only get him 8 times this season, that we're just moving the plot forward a little bit. And this
we
one,
we can't have non sequiturs.
Right. This one felt like a guy in the design room was like, dude, I have this badass idea for this like ice spider. And then they're like, fuck it. We'll do that for an episode.
I created this CGI ice spider for this other project I'm working on. I think we can throw it in here to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, with all this being said and it being we'll call it a disappointing episode, love it had that Western feel.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that horse race through the hills, chase, you hide out in a cave. Then they eventually catch you, but they let you go because they don't want to deal with it. Kind of that, hey, we're going to let you off, but you got to never show your face again. That felt so Western, which was still nice to see that they're staying true to their roots.
Mm-hmm.
And him trying to fix the ship for some reason was just like a cool plot device to me. I don't know. Him just like always kind of being like, fuck, man, I just can't catch a break with my transportation. It's like, reminds me of my old Pontiac Sunfire.
Oh, love those were the days.
All right, best scene. So I was going back and forth between a couple, but one that I just really, really enjoyed was, Banner, you referenced it earlier, the opening fight where whoever it is on Tatooine, they like pull that rope out to knock him while he's on his speeder. And then he kind of beats up some of the outlaws and then, of course, tricks the guy by giving him his jetpack in exchange for Baby Yoda's life, but he can still control it with his like little Apple Watch.
Yeah.
That was just an awesome start to the episode. And again, I appreciate visiting other planets. It was great aesthetically. The CGI was awesome. But I'll be honest, I'm relatively easy to please in the sense that 90% of this show could just take place on Tatooine, and I would be perfectly happy with it. So,
yeah, that was my favorite scene as well. And mainly because that was the only thing that I could really grasp at, that it didn't necessarily advance a plot storyline, but it reminded me of one that
maybe
these guys are super wanted. The guild is still after them, and they're willing to do whatever they have to do to catch them. And then the whole movie or the whole episode kind of went downhill from there with getting away from that. But that part still goes, hey, there's people out there. They know where Mando's at, and they're never going to stop trying to get the child.
Yeah. And I'll just round this out. I was going to try and think of another scene, but since Banner jumped on this one, that's the one I had too, as well as my favorite scene. I did have a question, but it was kind of implied. Yeah, they were with a guild and they were like going after him specifically because falls off his speeders. They grab the child. They know the child's there, so they're trying to get it. But other than that, there wasn't too much that was really voiced saying like this was a pointed attack, but it definitely was.
Yeah, I actually did.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't even pick up on that. Did they have one of those like bounty hockey pucks that the guild always has when they're...
No, and really the only thing I picked up on was like it crashed and they said grab the child like immediately. So that was the only thing that I really picked up on that said, oh, this was pointed, other than just a random attack, which I was kind of confused at the beginning. I was kind of on the fence.
It may not necessarily be the guild that was after him, but it was definitely some sort of bounty hunters or bounty hunting group
Mercenaries
trying to collect. Yeah, mercenaries trying to collect Baby Yoda or the child.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that, again, like I said, it didn't advance anything, but it definitely reminded me of the stakes that are at play here.
Yeah.
And honorable mention for me, Banner, you already brought it up, but felt very much like a Star Wars movie, the X-Wing chase through the ice planet. And I just loved how cool it was when they were communicating with him. It was kind of an homage to Han Solo in A New Hope when they're in the detention center and he cannot really stall with
everything's fine. How are you?
How are you? Yeah. And then the X-Wings go silent and just open their attack foils. That was a really cool moment in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that was classic, iconic. You see him open up, you're like, "Fuck, here we go."
God damn it! It's like when the cops behind you, but its lights aren't on yet, and you're like, "Fuck, are my tags good?"
Or the cop pulls up beside you, and all of a sudden, the cop slows down, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
This makes me nervous.
A little bit of a New Hope homage as well, going down into the canyon, very similar to the Death Star, and battle.
Tunnel
very
scene.
Much so. The Razor Crest vehicle, though, let's be honest, that thing is not the fastest ship we've ever seen.
Fucking boat, man.
That's like a Cadillac DeVille from like '64 or something.
Right. He's like in a station wagon trying to outrun.
Now you can run into a wall and it'll probably keep going, which he's proved, but it's not too agile.
It's kind of like the Titanic, though. You hit an iceberg and you're fucked.
Yeah.
Kudos,
he doesn't have OnStar, so when he crashed, he was like, "Well, I kind of got to figure this out on my own." All right, theories and questions.
I just let that AAA lapse.
$80 a year, though. He didn't even use it,
But you're gonna have to use it 3 times next year,
Right. Okay, theories and questions from this episode. My favorite part. Before I turn it loose to you guys, few interesting things. Number one, this episode was directed by Peyton Reed, who directed all the Ant-Man movies, and he also did Yumi and Dupree, I believe.
We don't need to mention that one.
Yes Man, he did, I believe. So, Peyton Reed directed this one. Let me see what else I had. I think that's all I had as far as interesting facts. But Nate, any theories or questions that you had stemming from this episode?
Yeah, and this kind of goes into I'm hoping some of this shit pays off later on down the road, but and maybe they just use this as a funny device to throw some comedy in there. But Baby Yoda's infatuation with the eggs and eating them. Whenever they're in the junkyard and the frog lady first walks in, one of the first things that happens is he immediately notices those things and looks at them and draws his attention. It could just be because he's a fucking baby and it's a glowing fucking lava lamp and he's like, "Oh shit, that looks cool." But he always keeps going back to him. So I don't know if there's something just going far-fetched that the Yoda population actually was a detriment to the frog civilization, because that's what they keep talking about. We found a planet that we can go to. It's one that we can't inhabit because our species is at danger. And that would just be kind of a cool tie in, that the whatever the Yoda species is was detrimental to that. I mean, it'd be shitty, but at least it'd be something that would tie into that. They ate their eggs all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. To my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, did the frog lady ever actually catch him eating one of the eggs?
No.
I think only Mando did.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried that the frog lady's gonna count them and be like, I'm missing 3.
Oops.
That's weird.
That was one theory, and then the other one kind of tied to the same thing is that Baby Yoda's doing something with the eggs. He's not eating them, he's storing them, but then somehow later on they're gonna maybe enhance his power or something along those lines. But
so you think frog eggs are steroids?
Basically, they're Yoda steroids. Yes,
I could get behind that.
Yeah,
that's why Yoda died on Dagobah, because there wasn't any frog eggs.
Yeah, because those frogs were hopping planets.
Old, one of the two.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said maybe that and the fact that he was 1,000 years old.
Nah.
Yep. So yeah, that is kind of the one thing I have going right now.
Very interesting. I'm still very curious as to Baby Yoda's fate in this show? Because Baby Yoda will not make it out of, whenever the show ends, will not make it out of The Mandalorian. I mean, he can't, right?
No.
I'm not smart enough to say yes.
What's your theory on saying he won't make it out?
Well, it just seems crazy to me that that Baby Yoda or a descendant of Yoda or a Jedi that potentially powerful could exist in the Star Wars universe, and we've never seen him in any of the subsequent films.
That is true.
And with Luke having the power that he has, how could he have not felt this Force ability child's abilities or Force presence?
Yeah,
if it's that strong and it's that important, why did Luke not seek him out for his when he was trying to restart the Jedi Temple right around the same time, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, and two things I'll touch on that, because I think right now, we talked about this last episode, we're like around the time frame, Rey is like 5 years old or something like that, is for what I've heard, the theory. We're kind of like a little after that. So yeah, I mean, Baby Yoda would be in some of the further episodes, like ideally in his prime, whatever that means, but he would be old enough to do shit. Yeah, in his prime, he's slaying ass constantly.
Oh yeah,
just traveling the galaxy, trying to get that taken care of.
So I have a theory that I'm gonna piggyback off that a little bit, right?
Do it.
So Rey at this point in time is, we're guessing 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. She is
somewhere, yeah.
She is young.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I say, around the time that she gets, we'll say, abandoned on, what was that, Jakku?
Mm-hmm.
I think somehow, I'm not exactly sure how, Mando being a bounty hunter and things that he has done, he's helped people, he's not helped people. Is he going to go after or work with, what's the fucking bounty hunter's name in Rise of Skywalker that left Rey on that planet?
Yeah, I don't
remember. Ushu or
the one that was chasing Lando and Luke.
That was chasing Lando and Luke. Yes, that one. Somehow, because obviously that bounty hunter has experience with Force-sensitive beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Mando going to seek him out, potentially teach him about Force beings, or is that guy going to teach Mando about Force beings? Somehow they can connect him with Mando, both being bounty hunters and essentially rescuing Force-sensitive children.
Yeah.
It'd be
Makes
cool
sense.
too if they did something where, like, I can't remember the name of the planet where they had the fire festival, where like Rey and all them met up with Lando. But it'd be cool to see if they maybe showed like how that Sith dagger that he had got buried in that quicksand or something. And like
like how did he obtain that?
Yeah, that was the one with the special writing on it that she like lined up with the arc thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is somehow the only thing this episode could do to advance the plot is those X-Wing fighters are going to come back later on and actually help Mando. Right? That's the only logical explanation.
I can see that. Yeah.
For having this episode is we got introduced to them and they let him go because of this, that, and the other. So now they have established some sort of relationship with him that they can call back on later on to come possibly save the day in a similar situation that the other Mandalorians came out of the covert. They all got murdered because they helped him, blah, 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 blah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few questions. Banner, do you have any more theories?
No, that was the only ones that I had. Both good, both a little far-fetched, I think, though.
That's the point, though, right? Is you gotta take a swing for the fences. So who do you guys think is actually on Trask? Like, who will the frog chick's husband be taking Mando to? Is it anyone we've seen?
So, yeah, I think this could go a couple different ways. So it could be introducing a new character that actually is a Mandalorian that we don't know about, or maybe we do in some realm. Or it could obviously be down the road of Cobb Vanth. It is someone imposing as a Mandalorian. They have the armor or something like that. But yeah, I'm very interested because I know once they get there, there will be some new characters introduced. Banner shaking his head in disgust. So,
Not disgust. I just
let me go
think
ahead
I
and throw it
can
over
one
to
up
him.
you.
Okay. What? Sure. Go ahead.
Could it be Moff Gideon? He has the dark saber, which is a Mandalorian artifact. Could he be, hey, I am a Mandalorian? This frog guy's naive to think he actually is a Mandalorian, and he has now tricked them, or he's holding the frog people hostage and say, hey, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill your wife, and I'm gonna eat all your fucking babies if you don't bring Mando to me. So they come up with this ruse to lure Mando to Moff Gideon.
That's a bit much, and the only reason I say that is how would Moff Gideon know that they have access to get Mando there?
He has the resources of what was formerly known as the Empire.
Well, I believe Moff Gideon is racist and would never work with frog people. If I know him as well as I think I know him.
Well, I mean, you guys have dinner dates, every Tuesday, so I think you know him fairly well.
They're meetings, they're not dates, Brian. It's professional. But that was one of my other notes. As I wrote,
what's the professional? I saw your dick in his mouth.
When will we see Moff Gideon? Is what I wrote at the bottom. Because again, like Nate said, the way last season ended, man, they had so much momentum. He cuts himself out of that TIE fighter with a dark saber. You're like, holy shit, dude, we're like fucking full throttle for season 2. And I don't want to say they've taken their foot off the gas, but they've taken their foot off the gas. And that's having given me an episode of Timothy Oliphant, who I love.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you have all these plot threads. Just pull on one of them,
Yeah. And wasn't there? I forget the woman's name from last season.
Cara Dune?
No, she was like an assassin, and Mando went after her with that random guy that died.
Oh, Banner, who's Melinda May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah.
I don't remember her.
Oh, Ming-Na Wen?
Yeah.
Well, that's the actress.
That's the
Oh, yeah, Fennec Shand.
Yeah. But she was in it very briefly, right?
She's still alive. Wasn't there a theory we had that she's still alive?
There was.
Well, we were talking about whose foot we saw at the end of that episode, but I think we all kind of suspected it was Boba Fett. And now I feel like that's all but confirmed based on, number one, him being in this season, but then two, the way they kind of showed him at the end of episode 1.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, never mind. I really hope they do show Moff Gideon next episode because with the ending, like Horns just said, of season 1, I don't think you can go this long without showing him. He had such a captivating role near the end. You got to show him. I don't think it's tied into the frog people though, Banner.
But now I'm trying to figure out like what is their purpose? Do we trust Pelomado? Was she setting him up?
I don't know if we trust her. I don't think she has any ill intent. She's just kind of.
She may be naive.
Naive, gullible, just wants to be friendly.
Could you imagine the shit that Pelomado posts on the Tatooine residents Facebook group?
Ugh.
Jesus.
She probably
can't
loves
even imagine.
Sand.
Oh yeah.
Going, and I know we're getting a little long here, but going back to a statement that I said last season, which is how last season felt, and I kind of feel like this season is feeling the same way. They wrote The Mandalorian to be a movie. Disney Plus goes, hey, we're not going to be a movie, you're going to be a show. And all of a sudden they had to write these fillers in to get us from there. Because really last season, out of the, 8 episodes, really only, 4, maybe 5 of them mattered to the overall big plot. Did they take 2 seasons of the show, or the whole movie, break it up into 2 seasons of the show, and then add these filler episodes in where this is one, that Prison Break episode was one.
Yeah.
Even the Magnificent 7 episode could have been one. Because the only benefit we got was we met Cara Dune. Could they have taken this, and obviously episode 1 of this season was part of it, or maybe even not? I don't know. But again, it feels like they're taking a movie, breaking it up, and adding filler episodes in there.
Yeah, and even like again, you always see the picture a little bit clearer at the end of the season, but obviously with season 1, we do still sort of feel like there were a few stopgaps they had. I'll just make one prediction, and then I'm done here. I think we're going to see Ahsoka in the next episode. I have nothing to base that on. I just really want Rosario Dawson to show up in the show. So I'll say episode 3 is where she makes her debut.
Wouldn't be mad at it.
I would love that. I think it's going to be episode 4. And my only reasoning behind that is because we met in season 1 when we met our first very relevant new big character was episode 4 with Cara Dune. So to stay on that same pattern, I'm going to say it's going to be episode 4. And because I hate you and I think you're wrong.
Perfect. We're on the same page.
That is a good leg to stand on.
All right, before we leave the people, Nate, anything you want to wrap up season 2, episode 2 with?
Yeah, not too much. Just really interested to see where the frog people play into this, if any role, and where the eggs and Baby Yoda go from here.
Something I just thought of, Banner. Were the frog people the same people who were like working as Luke's maids on that island?
If they were, the ones that were on Luke's island have really let themselves go.
What's their motivation to look good? You know, they're basically slaves.
He pays them.
I guess they still have like Instagram accounts and stuff.
Yeah,
They gotta get their likes up.
North Korea.
Oh God! All right, Banner. Anything you want to leave the people with?
Only thing, Mando is a certified badass. When he catches that spider and crushes it in his hand, I was like, okay, we see you.
Yeah, he was pretty well equipped to fight off all those spiders. I was just waiting for him to use the flamethrower, and he finally did.
I was yelling at the screen, use the flamethrower, and then finally once he got to the ship, he started using it. But
thank you.
I feel like he's too conservative in his flamethrowing usage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that propane fuel is hard to come by in space.
It's true. Plus, he didn't know if they were gonna have to grill later, so he's like, I want to save a little bit of this.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a little bit of that crate dragon meat left.
Which actually, that did look really good on that spit.
I know. He was like a nice nice Sunday roast.
And when Pelamato got mad at the droids because she likes it medium rare, I was like, yeah, dude, don't overcook that. You lose all the flavor.
On. Leave it red inside.
All right, for the American hero, Nate Thurman, and the mad scientist, Brian Banner, I am the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro 4 Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. We'll be here for the duration of season 2 of The Mandalorian, so check out our reviews every week. Follow us on Twitter at Bro4Squad. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Letterboxd, pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. If you type in Bro4Squad as 3 separate words, and check out everything that we post and our squad blog on our website, bro4squad.com. Till next time, we got to go get to some frog people's planets.
Yeah, we got some scrambled frog eggs coming up.
I wonder if the frog
over medium.
The frog lady and her husband, I don't know if their marriage is on the rocks. Kind of seemed like it.
Well, why did he move out?
Just getting some space, dude.
Yeah, that was the backstory. He's trying to find a new inhabitable planet, but he's really crushing ass as he planet hops.
He's fucking a toad, isn't he?